This is a machine-sewn buttonhole, and what you're used to seeing on most of the clothes you wear. I'm going to show you an alternative buttonhole that's sophisticated, professional looking, and only takes a simple straight stitch from your machine. When I learned how to sew, my machine didn't make buttonholes, so I found out how to make bound ones, and to this day they are my favorites. I love the way they look and the creative license they offer. Bound buttonholes look far more complicated than they really are. The method I'm going to show you is not the classic textbook version, but is easy, looks good, and it helps prepare you for a second version I'll show you that's a lot of fun. Here are samples of bound buttonholes. They're usually small and would be difficult to see while I'm explaining the steps, so this double-size version will help you clearly see what's happening. For the anatomy lesson, there's what I am calling the window. This is the frame that holds the lips. The lips are sometimes formed like binding or piping, depending on the bound buttonhole method you use. Lips are sometimes called welts. In a garment, you can make the buttonholes match the garment fabric or contrast with it. In this sample, the garment fabric does not match the buttonhole, so you can clearly see the various parts. First, you have to mark the face of your garment for the buttonhole placement. We talked about placement and size in Season 1 of Teach Yourself to Sew, so today I'll just cover the construction of the buttonhole. You can use chalk to mark the buttonhole, but basting works best because it doesn't rub off, blur, or spread. Baste 2 rows of stitching to mark the ends of the buttonholes. These are usually parallel with the center front. Then baste a short line across the double rows and perpendicular to them at the exact placement of each buttonhole. When you're finished basting, it looks like a ladder. Cut an interface of fabric patch for each buttonhole. It should be at least the width of the buttonhole plus 2 inches and at least 1 inch longer than the finished buttonhole. Mark the length as you did on the garment and mark the placement line. The width of the buttonhole is less specific. The lips should be 1/8 to 3/16 inches wide. So draw a rectangle twice the lips width wide. Position the patch right sides together on top of the garment, aligning the short ends placed on the latter sides and the rectangle centered on the rung or placement lines. At your sewing machine, start on one long side and stitch around the rectangle. Make sure the short ends are the same length, so the long sides will stay parallel. Claire Schaefer recommends counting the stitches when sewing the short ends to keep them the same. Pivot at each corner with the needle down and take a few stitches past where you started sewing. Remove the work from the sewing machine. Draw the diagonal lines. Cut the rectangle open by first cutting along the center line and then diagonally into each corner. You are left with a cut that looks like 2 Ys joined at their stems. Then turn the patch to the wrong side through the cut. Turn the triangles away from the window and press the ends from the wrong side, and again from the right side. Press the long sides toward the buttonhole from the wrong side. Wrap the patch around each seam allowance to meet neatly in the center of the window without overlapping. Baste the lips together on the right side with diagonal stitches. Secure the lips by hand or machine stitching. Close the ends by stitching across the triangles from the inside. Then stitch through the right side into the ditch to secure the lips. Remove the straight basting, but leave the diagonal basting until the garment is finished. Now you can see this looks like a finished buttonhole from the front, but it's not too pretty on the wrong side. I'll show you how to take care of that.